Hey everyone! On the Count of Three is a film that's been on my radar for a while now, but I've had no way of watching it. It was then recently available to buy on Amazon, so that's what I did. I bought it, watched it, and loved it. This is the directorial debut of Jerrod Carmichael. It also features him as one of the two leads, the other being Christopher Abbott. They star as Val and Kevin, two childhood best friends who want to kill themselves. That's what this film is about. It's a black comedy about their last day and how they choose to spend it. I've described it as a black comedy because it is, but it's also quite serious. The themes, characters, and events are all taken seriously. It's dealing with heavy subject matter, and it tackles it in a very mature way. It feels authentic, and a lot of that is attributed to the performances of Carmichael and Abbott. Both give great performances. None of it is exaggerated or feels fake in any way. These characters and their struggles feel real. As we go through the movie, we learn more about these two people and how they have become who they are. They are people created through trauma, and they are who they are because of the awful things that have happened to them. We're drip-fed this information, and by the end, we understand why it's come to this. They're just broken people, broken down by abuse, trauma, and a constant stream of bullying and belittling. It's enough to break the camel's back. They've both been deteriorating their whole lives, and it's all led to this one day, the climax. I think that this was handled really well. The movie slowly builds this portrait of the two characters, and by the end we get the full picture. Not everything, of course, but enough to understand and empathize. It's a brutally honest look into depression and suicide. It's obviously an extremely heavy and personal thing to talk about, but the film does this in a way that doesn't feel offensive. It's partly a comedy, but never makes fun or belittles how the characters feel. As a film, I think it's solid. Strong direction for a directorial debut. Jerrod Carmichael clearly knows what kind of story he wants to tell, and he tells it. This film is a balancing act. It's juggling so many things in terms of tone, and that's very easy to mess up. Luckily, On the Count of Three finds that balance. It doesn't sway too serious and doesn't become a depressing watch that you don't want to revisit. Instead, it's entertaining and funny, but ultimately it's a serious and raw look into mental health. I thought the cinematography was unusual, but really worked for the film. It was chaotic and extremely effective. We get these excruciating close-ups that allow us to tap into the mentality of our two leads. A lot of this is shot with a kind of matter-of-fact feeling about it. Acts of violence are shown in clear ways, showing us the reality of the situation. It feels visceral rather than cinematic, and it works for the story. The writing of this is also great. It's what fuels the brilliant performances of the actors. This script did require nuance from the two leads to work though. This film may not have worked as well as it does without Carmichael and Abbott. They really pick up the script and make it come alive. This film, in order to work, really needed a lot of things to come together, and luckily they did. The other technical details of this are good. The soundtrack and sound design were a standout for me. The scene with Last Resort by Papa Roach was hilarious and is a good example of what this film is like. It's in the trailer for the film, so if you'd like to see what you're getting yourself into, definitely watch the trailer for this. The journey of the characters and the exploration of mental health is really why you watch this though. I'm going to try not to spoil anything in this video, so I'll talk quite vaguely about this, but we start on both of our characters wanting to commit suicide until they decide to have one last day. One last day to set everything straight and right the wrongs that have happened to them. We get to the end, but one of them has changed. I'm not going to say who, but it's interesting when paired with the start of the film. I think that this film will resonate with a specific group of people like it resonated with me. On the Count of Three is a simple film. It's short and knows what it's doing. There isn't any time wasting here. I don't think it's a film that will garner much attention. What it's doing is quite niche and not for everyone, but it's very good at pulling off what it sets out to do. If you feel like this is for you, I urge you to check it out, because I'm sure you'll love this just like I did. Feeling trapped is the worst feeling in the world. Where do you go? Who do you turn to? What can you do about your situation? This film encapsulates that feeling. For those of you who feel trapped, this is for you. These characters, in their final day, try to break out of the trap that they're stuck in. They fight back against their trauma and take a stand. It's quite a blunt film. The subject matter isn't alluded to, but in full focus. It's painful and raw. Because of this, I do have to say that viewer discretion is advised. If you struggle with mental health, I do think this will connect with you, but this film may be triggering for some. It's a film that's been on my mind a lot since I watched it. It's stayed with me and is a film I see myself rewatching often. It's a thoroughly enjoyable, funny, but deeply personal film about how pain makes us who we are, and that's why I love On the Count of Three.